What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome to another video. Today we've got some topics to discuss, so let's go ahead and get right into this. I'm gonna start off why I am buying Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I'm going to be picking up Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu with the Pokeball Plus bundle. Then I'll be picking up Pokemon Let's Go Eevee in a bit, but I want to talk about this because this has been one of the most controversial games. But I think the more as we get closer to the release, and today's the day, you already start to see people streaming up, getting their copies from the mail, whatever the case is. I think people are starting to realize after you play it that, you know what, it's actually not a very bad game. But I wanted to talk about this not because I'm trying to persuade you guys to buy the game one way or another. If you're one of those guys that you're a hardcore Pokemon dude, you don't think it's going to be a very good game, that's fine. You can wait for the game that's coming out next year. 2019, we're going to have a brand new Pokemon game that's more similar to the core titles that we've gotten before, right? The Pokemon X and Y, the Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, the mainline Pokemon games that we've seen before. Not this new strand of mainline game or whatever the Pokemon company is calling it, but the normal games that we usually get. We're getting that in 2019, so that's cool. I'm looking forward to that as well. But I wanted to kind of run down some of the things that I've seen in this game that I'm really excited about and why I want to pick up this game and play it. And one of the best things to me, believe it or not, and I've said it multiple times, but for those who are new, is the Pokeball Plus accessory. When I was a kid, I was absolutely obsessed with Pokemon. I loved everything about the show. I loved how you threw the Pokeballs and you capture them and they're inside there and all this different stuff. That was always one of the coolest things about the show, was the Pokeball itself. And I would have loved to be able to have a Pokeball accessory like this and to be able to play a game so you can like mimic catching Pokemon. That was something that my 10-year-old OJ would have absolutely loved a lot. But then I realized 20 years later, I still like that. That's still something that I wanted to do. I just never expressed it in any type of way because I just never thought about it. I never thought that they would make something this crazy in order for you to play a game, an actual Pokeball, and use it to play it like that. Like Pokemon Go on the mobile phones, that is nothing like what this game is doing with the Pokeball Plus. How you capture on there, you just use your thumb. That's not like Pokemon. That's not like the actual anime or the game or anything like that. So this is something that's completely different and more immersive. I don't use that word a lot because I'm not huge into immersive like VR or motion controls a lot, but there's something about this Pokeball Plus that just gets me saying, oh my gosh, I want to use this. It has HD Rumble built into there. It's just a cool looking thing. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm actually buying this game. But also another reason why is that it's a really cool game to bridge the gap to Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. If you want me to be honest, look, everyone's going to be buying and playing Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. That game is absolutely amazing. That's Nintendo's biggest game. That's going to be the biggest seller for the year. We all know what Smash Brothers can do, but the wait is getting really painful at this point because you guys know I'm a huge Smash Brothers fan. So this is a game that comes at the right time with the right type of gimmick with the Pokeball Plus that's going to get me hooked probably for the next couple weeks to pass the time. Smash Brothers launches in 3 weeks from the time that I'm recording this video. 3 weeks from now, we'll be getting that Smash Brothers. So it launches in just the perfect time for me to kind of play and get through it. There's a lot of content in this game. It's going to take you upward of what, 20-30 hours or so, beat the campaign unless you speedrun or somehow. There's a lot of cool Pokemon to capture. There is just the Pokeball Plus accessory like I said, but one of the biggest things that they've changed in this game that I kind of don't like about the other games, but it's cool in this one, is that there's no more random encounters. Like random encounters are great in certain places, right? For example, like tall grass, right? So if you're in tall grass, I like when you have random encounters, but when you're inside of a cave, there's just random encounters all over the place. So if you're trying to do a puzzle or if something's going on, you have to use one of those repels or whatever the case is, and it's just not as intuitive as it is when you're outside of the cave and you can go into tall grass. And I get it for training purposes, guys. I used to be hardcore into Pokemon Diamond and Pearl and play online and all of that stuff. I think it's great that they have them in there, and I think with the next Pokemon game, I think that they should do a way to where there is areas within caves that's like tall grass to where you can go into. But what I like about this is that you can actually see the Pokemon on the field, and I thought it'd always be interesting if they actually had it to where you can see them, like a Xenoblade Chronicles or something like that, and they have it in this game. So I think it's a nice change up from what we've seen before. Not saying that I want to see it replaced in the next Pokemon game with this one. I think there's a happy balance between having Pokemon Let's Go games have it to where you can see the Pokemon, and then the other games have it to where there's like tall grass, or they make it like, I don't know, like light fight rocks or something. I'm not really sure what they do inside of a cave, but you guys know what I'm talking about there. I think there's a good balance between both games, so you can have it in one of the games that's more of the casual experience than another, and then one that's more of the hardcore experience, the random encounters and stuff like that in tall grass. So overall, I'm excited about that as well. And then also playing my first real Pokemon game from the Pokemon Company in HD. Obviously, we've had games before that come out on home consoles, but there was nothing on the Wii U. There's that Pokemon Rumble thing. That doesn't count. That wasn't made by Game Freak. This is the first one here, and it's a remake of one of my favorite Pokemon games. That is Pokemon Yellow, kind of where the love started out. That was my first one that I actually owned myself, was Pokemon Yellow. I got Red and Blue later, or I played my friends' copies of Red and Blue. I actually got Yellow as my own Pokemon game to play, and it was fantastic. I remember it like it was yesterday. So it's really cool to kind of go back to the roots of that and play this style of game. So I'm excited to see that. So those are kind of like my top 3 reasons why I'm excited to pick up Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and play it. So what do you guys think about it? Are you guys picking up the game, and what team are you? Team Pikachu or Team Eevee? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to some pretty big news here, guys. Sony is skipping E3 2019 because they are going to be exploring new and familiar ways to engage the PlayStation community in 2019, aka we're making the PlayStation 5. It's going to launch in 2020, and we don't have any more games to show you guys for 2019. PlayStation 4 is done, and we are moving on. For the last few years, they've been showing off the same games anyway, for the most part. So I'll talk about my own thoughts with this because I have quite a bit to say when it comes to it. But let's get into what Sony had to say here first. So Sony Interactive Entertainment will not attend or host a press conference at E3 2019 for the first time in the show's soon-to-be 25th year history. The company has announced, quote, as the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. The company told Game Informer in a statement, PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. As a result, we have decided to not participate in 2019. We are exploring new and familiar ways to engage our community in 2019 and can't wait to share our plans with you. Now, when asked if Sony plans to host an off-site event around E3 similar to Electronic Arts EA Play event, Sony Interactive Entertainment Senior Vice President of Communications Jennifer Clark said, quote, we will not activate or hold a press conference around E3. A Sony spokesperson further told Polygon, we will not be programming around E3. So regarding the new and familiar ways Sony plans to engage the community, Clark said, we are looking at events as a whole and how we can speak more to our fans and continue to wow them. The timing of the skipped 2018 PlayStation experience and E3 didn't allow for that, but lots of exciting things to come. We hope to share them shortly. Some of our biggest games will have key milestones next year, so we will work hard to blow those up. So essentially, Sony's pretty much just saying we're done with this here, but it does seem like developers and people are gearing up for the PlayStation 5. Why else would you not have an E3 presence? Is because you don't want to announce the PlayStation 5 at E3 and then have a year and a half before it launches. That's too much time. We've seen that with the Wii U. Too much stuff gets leaked. There's just too many issues overall. You want to announce it and launch it in the same year. That is the way to do things. Or you want to announce it and launch it in a relatively short amount of time. Like, for example, with the Nintendo Switch, it was announced in October and then it was released in March. They had the big event there, so not a lot of turnover time. You want to capitalize on the momentum. You don't want long dry periods of no information like that and just long periods of time. So it doesn't make sense for Sony to really show up if they're gearing over everything for the PS5, which I think that they are gearing over everything for the PlayStation 5, and the PS4 is easily on its last legs when it comes to Sony first party support. You're going to get Days Gone, a couple of the other games, and that's really it. I think The Last of Us 2 is going to be a PlayStation 5 title or a cross-gen type of title. So that's really what's going down here, guys. I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing, but I find it interesting because when Nintendo did do this, everybody called them out. I had people call me out, say I'm an apologist, blah, 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 when I said that, no, this is actually the future of how Nintendo is going to operate things, and this is going to be better for them. You don't need to have the E3 press conferences like that. You can have the Nintendo Directs. You can do those type of things things, and you can be very effective, and everybody laughed and scoffed and said I was a fanboy and everything like that. And look at how many years later we are, 5 years later, and Nintendo Directs are the premier thing for all the different companies. Nobody gets more hyped. The media isn't in any more of a frenzy when it comes to what a company is going to announce when it's Nintendo Directs. Like, Nintendo Directs has its own thing. It has its own whole community and everybody that rallies around it. You get the whole day to yourself to talk about everything and not have to share the spotlight with anybody else and all the different things and overworking the people when it comes to E3. So it made sense, and it's been making sense, and now Sony's finally kind of realizing some of these things and reshaping and reforming their own business. And I think that if this is successful, whatever they do, some other type of Sony type of direct or other ways to engage the fans or announce different things, which we've seen kind of Microsoft and other places kind of shift over doing a little bit, I think we're going to see more of it from Sony. I think they're going to show off more of what they can do, and really E3 isn't the be all end all for any of these companies anymore. And I've been saying this forever, and before I was an apologist, but I guess not at this point since Sony's doing it. What I was saying was right? And what other people were saying, Nintendo fans were saying that, yeah, we want Nintendo Directs. We want a way to quickly get information, not just at E3, but at other times in the year. And that's what Nintendo Direct offers, without the need for a stage and a presence and all this other stuff. We just want to play the game. So I think Sony's kind of understanding that, and they're going to gear their whole business and kind of operate things that way in the future. They want to get that type of attention that Nintendo gets when you get a Nintendo Direct out there, which Sony and Microsoft, despite them selling so many systems or whatever the case is, their games just don't have that fever pitch to them like a Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild that can sell to 50% of the people who own a Switch, or Super Mario Odyssey, or whatever the case is, you know. And I think that Sony wants to get to that point. We'll have to wait and see what they're going to do. Sony obviously has a lot of great franchises. They're gearing up for the PlayStation 5. I think that really taking this year off was good for them, and they'll be back with the PlayStation 5 in 2020 and have a nice E3 showing and whatever it is to whatever games they're going to bring to the system. I think The Last of Us 2 is going to be a big one. I think Final Fantasy 7 Remake, we all know, yes, PlayStation 4, but I think that's going to be a PS5 game as well. So I think they're going to show up with some nice stuff too. Maybe have some ports of other PlayStation 4 games over on the PlayStation 5 day one. A Persona 5 port would be really good if they're able to kind of strike a deal for something like that. So what do you guys think about everything here? I'd love to hear your thoughts on Sony, but also Nintendo came out and said, hey, like, we want to engage with fans at E3 this year. We're going to have a E3 presence. They're going to be sharing new games and experiences, and yes, they've confirmed that with Nintendo. And also Xbox has said that yes, we will be at E3. We can't wait to see you guys at E3 2019. Xbox at E3, so they're going to be there. So it's really going to be, out of the big three, there's going to be the big two when it comes to E3 presence. Looks like Sony's just not going to be there at all, and Sony canceled the PlayStation experience. So yeah, it's definitely PlayStation 5 time, guys. It's definitely PS5 time. PS4 is pretty much done at this point for Sony, and they're moving on, and I think a lot of the developers are moving on as well. So what do you guys think about all this here when it comes to Sony skipping E3 and all of that, and what are your thoughts on what Nintendo and Microsoft are going to be doing? Let me hear about it in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Really helps to spread the content of PlayerEssence across the internet, in addition to YouTube. Also, make sure you check out our Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube live gaming pages. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future, and subscribe to PlayerEssence for this RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the for the next video. Peace.